All right, students, Eric Magidson here. So you've successfully connected with the VPN. You've successfully logged into your assigned server. Remember, we're going to be using the client configuration information in detail to complete this lab, okay? So at this point, just again, a reminder, please do not make changes out here. You're going to affect the other folks that use this, and especially when you're ready to sign off. I'm going to try to find a way to get rid of this, but if you right click here, you go to shutdown, notice you can accidentally hit that shutdown button. By the way, if you do, it's going to bring up a screen. You can just click off of it, click back on and choose the right one, which is sign out. Please only sign out. You shut down this server, it's down for the rest of the evening till I come back in and restart it when you send me an email saying, oops. All right, let's get started. We're going to go to Tools, and we're going to open the Hyper-V Manager. Now, we've done a little bit of an introduction to Hyper-V here. At this point, we're going to come in and do New and Virtual Machine. Okay, now, all of the configuration information we need is on that client configuration information file for each of you students. And down below is the global configuration information for Virtual Machine. It tells me I'm going to choose Next. Now, in here, if I look at my record on the spreadsheet, it says I want to name my server eMagidson. Oops, I'm actually going to make that all small. That's fine. eMagidson, it's going to be Windows Client Desktop, WCD 000. So I'm the triple threat. All right, then we're going to come down here and it says I want to store those files for my machine at C, Virtual Machines Group A. So I'm going to browse. Okay. I'm going to come down to the C drive. I'm going to do Virtual Group Machine A. Whoops. I want to make sure I'm right here, not inside the file. I want to see the folder here. I'll show you why that's important here in a second. Okay. I'm going to choose Select Folder. That's all I want to see. And Next. Configuration file says I need to pick a generation 2 and Next. Here I'm going to put in 2048 to start, and I am going to pick dynamic memory. Now, folks, as all of you get on and you leave your machines running, I want you to leave your client machines running when you sign off, okay? We'll start looking at memory allocation, and then we'll up this memory in the settings so that we each can have more memory and better performance, all right? So I'll choose Next. Here, starting out, I want to connect it to Pioneer Lab External. This is going to get me out to the internet. When my machine's finished, it's going to get a static IP address on the 192.168.3 network. That way I can hit the internet, I can do all my updates, and then when I'm ready to join it to Active Directory, which we'll do in the second part of the lab video, then I'll come back and change this to the WC only. I'm going to choose Next. Here I don't need 127 gigs, I just need 60. And this is a dynamically allocated folder. Notice VHDS, dynamically expanding. This is great for labs, but what we would do is we would create a static size and use all the space in an actual production environment. We can talk more about that later. It just gives us better performance. So make this 60 gigs. You'll see that the hard drive name becomes the name you gave your machine plus VHDX. And notice it's going to be stored in Group A under your virtual machine folder in the folder called Virtual Hard Disk. We'll look at that in just a second. I'm going to choose Next. I'm going to come out to install an operating system, and I will change that to Do Not Delete. I'm going to browse. I'm going to go out to the C drive, Software Installation Files, Windows 10, and double click on the Windows 10 for Education ISO. Make sure it's in there. Choose Next. Show you what it does in a minute, and choose Finish. It'll go ahead and create the virtual disk, create all the folders. Let's go take a look at those. Come out here, C. Remember, I was out on Virtual Machines Group A. Make sure that you put your machine where you're told, where you're asked to in your configuration. It's either going to be C or V Group B, okay? Now, if you notice, if I double click in here, I get my virtual hard disk. There it is. Notice how small it is? We haven't installed the operating system yet. And the virtual machine configuration files. All right. Now, folks, as I go through this video, I'm going to go ahead and fire up my virtual machine. As I go through this video, I'm going to pause it at certain points just so you don't have to see the painstaking updates that you're going to do. Once the machine is open, here's my power button, just like on a physical machine, and I'll power it up. Now, be very careful, be very quick, and hit a key, any key, when you see that. Okay. Now it's going to go ahead and start up this machine. And if you notice, if we come up here to media, that ISO file has been attached as a virtual DVD drive. So this is what it's going to boot to and read from. Okay, I'm going to pause while it continues starting up. All right, so once it starts up, this is the screen we're going to get. We do want United States English, so I'm going to choose next and install now. Now it's going to ask me for a license key, and folks, I will remind you this license key is for use only in our Pioneer Lab. Do not use it anywhere else. Do not grab these installation files and use these off. We can lose our Microsoft Imagine ability if a student is to do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause, of course, while I put this in. You'll find this license key on your client configuration info. I'll be right back. All right, so once you successfully enter that license key, you'll accept the license agreement and choose next. We are actually going to choose a custom install. And if you notice, there's that 60 gig virtual hard disk I created. I want to make sure it's clicked on and choose next. And then at this point, it's going to go out. Notice it's going to copy the Windows file from the ISO. It's going to get them ready. It's going to install them, etc. Now, be patient here. This takes a little time. I do not suggest you sign out at this point. I suggest you watch it through this part here. Be patient. Let it finish. I'm going to pause the video till it finishes up. So as you can see, it's almost done. It's quote unquote installing updates. It really isn't. This is running off a DVD. In a automated environment, we could have it go out, get an update package, etc. Notice it wants to restart, so I'm going to go ahead and just quickly help it out by say restart now. And again, just a reminder, these machines are being built on simply 2 spinny disks. So this is not solid state. It is not fast. It's not like my video demos that you see that boom, 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 I install it in real time in under 5 minutes. That's because I'm giving it a ton of virtual processor. I'm giving it a lot more memory, and it's on solid state. So I'll go ahead and pause while it reboots. So just a quick note, folks, if as you're doing this, you're not able to click on the screen, or you see that there's nothing moving on the screen hasn't changed for a long while, again, you do have to be patient. But what you can do is simply close this window, which is the virtual machine window, and reopen it, and that helps. Okay, so still going to wait while it gets ready. All right, so now we're going to finish up the local configuration. So I'm going to just choose Use Express Settings. This will take just a moment. I'll go ahead and pause. So it'll do some configuration, go back and forth. It's going to tell you it's getting critical updates. We're still going to be installing all the updates. So we'll just be patient and wait for it to come up with a screen for me to enter a local administrator account information. Now during this process, it will most likely restart once, maybe even twice. So after a few restarts, etc., you're going to get this screen. How do you want to connect? You're actually going to want to join a local Active Directory domain. You'll do this later. Okay, so it's going to help you set up, notice, a local account on the computer because we've yet to attach it to Active Directory. So I'm going to choose this and next. Okay. And here, what it's going to want is who's going to use this PC. Okay. Now you can decide how you want your local username to be. I happen to like my first name dot last name, and here you can give it whatever kind of password you want. A nice complex password, please. Now this password hint, I'm not a fan of this password hint. You can use it if you'd like, but here's why I don't put one in right there, is because if a hacker is to gain access and try and ask for that password hint when they are unsuccessful, this is going to give them a close view of you. Thus, if you say my favorite baseball team, well, now I can go out to Facebook or social media. I can go through your social media accounts if they're public, figure out who your baseball team is, and have your password. And yes, folks, it can be that easy. Okay, so here I'm going to choose next, and it's going to go ahead and configure my local account on this machine. I'll pause till that's done, and I'm ready to log in for the first time. Now, if you notice, it went ahead in this case and didn't have me log in. It logged me in automatically the first time. This is going to be the network. I'm just going to say yes to this. Okay. and it's going to go ahead allow other PCs be discoverable. We don't need to worry about this. We're going to be throwing it into Active Directory. So the first thing I want to do is actually come down here. Now, I found you need to be patient with this. This may be a part where you decide to leave your machine running. You just simply, you can sign out if you'd like, whatever. This is a great stopping point, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do a couple things right off the bat. I'm going to go into About Your PC. Now, one thing I noticed, and I didn't want to redo this whole video for it, is I actually used the wrong naming convention when I created. Make sure you use what's on the sheet. I'm going to rename my PC. If you notice, it's got this funky name to it. Well, I want a name that I can find in Active Directory, do all this good stuff. So this is going to be Eric, first name, last initial, Windows Client Desktop 000. So I'm going to rename this machine. I'm going to choose Next, and it's going to want me to restart when I do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart now. It's going to restart. I'm going to be able to log into the machine, and I will see you in the next video for part 2. All right, take care.